From the best in the world igniting an all-elite war in their bid to defend themselves, to some stars seizing the moment to take aim at a truly baffling decision from up top. These are a few more of those unscripted beats that kicked up a storm in the wrestling world. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 more controversial times wrestlers went off script. Number 10. Ric Flair's controversial unscripted promo leads to Vince McMahon banning them. What you may not be aware of is that Ric Flair's penchant for doing whatever the hell he pleased when equipped with a live mic had a rather seismic impact on the WWE landscape as a whole. Jumping back to 2004, Flair went out of his way to cut a pretty disturbing promo that involved him bragging about his unfiltered antics with virgins when taking aim at Randy Orton inside of Madison Square Garden. On that night though, Vince McMahon's company were playing host to a number of corporate sponsors, leading to the former boss understandably losing his mind over Flair's improvised line. And as former WWE writer Brian Gewirtz eventually revealed to ad-free shows, there might have been an incident in Madison Square Garden once when Ric Flair went off script that got Vince a little heated about what he said and said, damn it, from then on I need to know what every single talent is going to be saying going out there. And the rest was suffering succotash history. Number 9. Xavier Woods was genuinely pissed about the superstar shakeup. Not exactly known as one of the most difficult of performers to work with in front of or behind the camera for that matter, it'll likely come as something of a shock to hear that the New Day's Xavier Woods actually took to calling out his employers in the middle of a company ring back in April 2019, sort of. Hot on the heels of WWE deciding to thoroughly shake up its roster once again, the eventual king of the company rocked up on an iteration of the KO show on SmackDown and let loose a rather brassed-off little rant at the fact the majority of his up, down pals have been drafted to Raw. Far from simply being a throwaway outburst, however, Dave Meltzer would eventually note on Wrestling Observer Radio that Woods' little rant was a shoot, with the multiple-time tag team champion not being happy in the slightest about how many of his gaming pals were shifted over to Monday nights. Sadly though, despite Woods going out of his way to bang the drum for Tyler Breeze's return to SmackDown in particular, that specific Breezango face would remain in NXT until his sudden release in June 2021. Number 8. Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair shoot. Opting to try something new in the midst of a live promo is one thing. Choosing to physically and rather aggressively improvise in the thick of an already produced contest is something else entirely. The latter scenario infamously stole headlines last year as Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax seemingly decided to bin off any attempts to present a professional wrestling contest on an August 2021 edition of Raw, opting to genuinely beat the crap out of one another instead. From sickening slams that didn't appear to be taking a performer's safety into account, to a string of staggeringly stiff shoot strikes that left both fans and commentators wincing in their seats. Jax would eventually recall to Renee Paquette on her The Sessions podcast that this entire scenario was actually born out of some miscommunication. As she put it, we were laying into each other and I'm like, what the heck is going on right now? At the point that everyone saw on TV, I was like, F this, you're laying into me, I don't know what's going on. So I just gave her a two-piece back that kind of rocked her back into let's finish up this match and get together. However, after clearly beating 10 lumps of crap out of one another, and the internet quickly coming to the conclusion that some real-life heat must have been at the center of the drama, Jax would also explain that the pair quickly buried the hatchet and moved on with their anything but dull lives. Number 7. Sammy Guevara pisses off Eddie Kingston with a fat-shaming promo. Though it shouldn't exactly need to be said in 2022, body shaming in any form is an idiot's game. Now, if a wrestler decides to take that very real, sensitive issue and willingly infuse it into a program as a way of adding some extra spice to an ongoing blood feud, then that is entirely their choice. Yet when said discussion never actually takes place, and a star opts to take a shot at their rival's body shape on the fly, well, crap is never too far away from colliding with the fan, so to speak. In fact, in the case of Sammy Guevara's decision to brand Eddie Kingston as a fat piece of during a promo in the lead up to the pair's eventually scrapped all-out 2022 bout, said lack of communication beforehand paved the way for a backstage altercation between the two and the Mad King eating a suspension. The Spanish God would go on record to Fightful soon after, admitting that his controversial words were only an attempt to give Kingston a physical person that Eddie could shut up, and that his sparring partner hadn't explained what he didn't want said. And far from holding a grudge, Kingston would openly also confess to Fightful, I was wrong, that is all, before the two reportedly shook hands and apologized to one another over these off-script events that had dominated the All Elite news cycle for a spell. Wonder if anything else happened after that. Oh wait. Number 6. Trish Stratus sticks up for Lita. Entirely changing the game for every woman who followed them into the WWE landscape in particular, it's not too difficult to understand why Trish Stratus and Lita share a pretty unbreakable bond. And this unshakable friendship was perhaps most notably tested in front of a sports entertainment camera back in April 2005, with much of the WWE audience blaming Lita for the departure of her ex Matt Hardy, calls of "We want Matt and you screwed Matt" were fired at the then babyface star as she hobbled into Madison Square Garden on crutches. But the line was clearly crossed and then some the moment the New York crowd hurled chants of "slut" at the all-out legend, with Stratus quickly pulling away from her scripted promo to blast the fans. The then heel women's champion told those in attendance, "Don't call her a slut, you guys are idiots, you don't know what you're talking about," very much doing everything in her power to protect her buddy from the unwarranted amount of abuse being sent her way on the night. Stratus and Lita should have never had to have contended with such disgusting outbursts, mind, but the way the former managed the waves of repulsive chanting like a pro only further cemented her status as an all-timer. Number 5. Vince McMahon isn't happy with the Revival's terminology. For the longest time, it felt as though even the slightest mention of pro wrestling on main roster programming was enough to sentence a wrestler to weeks of being utterly slaughtered by whatever talent Vince McMahon was high on at the time. Look no further than the time the Revival seemingly made a point of confirming to the world that they were anything but sports entertainers in a post-match promo on a January 2018 edition of Raw, with the eventual All Elite twosome classing themselves as professional wrestlers a week before a fateful Raw 25th anniversary special. Not long after this bold claim, it was rumored that the former WWE chairman wasn't best pleased about Dax Howard and Cash Wheeler's terminology. Sure enough, this instance of apparently going off script was soon followed by an absolute burial at the hands of D-Generation X and the club a week on. What a world, eh? Number 4. Roman Reigns does what he wants, including missionary. For the clearest example of Roman simply doing whatever he feels like during his current dominant reign at the top, your presenter gives you that moment last year when the head of the table chose to get a little bit steamy on the PG-rated Blue Show. Coming in the thick of the undisputed WWE Universal Champion's high-profile program with John Cena in the lead-up to SummerSlam 2021, Reigns would claim that his rival had grown stale, classing the Hollywood star as like the same thing over and over, like missionary position every single night. Far from being punished for this explicit one-liner though, Reigns would admit to Sports Illustrated that he's in a position where he doesn't get in trouble for his various unscripted outbursts, claiming, "Even if they tried to say something to me, I wouldn't have cared anyways. What are you gonna do, not have me on SmackDown next week?" Fast forward a year and that's depressingly become the norm, ironically. Number 3. Stephanie McMahon buries Punk's UFC showing. Penetrating just about every single piece of WWE programming throughout his 7-year spell away from all things professional wrestling, the defiant cries of CM Punk were almost inevitable each and every time the sports entertainment giant made their way into an arena. But on one rather infamous occasion, now WWE CEO Stephanie McMahon opted to steer into the often frustrating sea of Punk back in 2016, taking the opportunity to utterly troll the best in the world in his hometown on Boxing Day, with Steph's appearance coming a few months on from the former WWE champion getting absolutely dominated in his UFC debut against Mickey Gall. The usual CM Punk rallying chant was emphatically popped by the McMahon's unscripted quip of, "So if you guys could keep that up for about 2 minutes and 15 seconds, you'd last 1 second longer than Punk did." Yikes, tell us how you really feel, eh? Number 2. Ronda Rousey rants about going off script. Ronda Rousey's turbulent relationship with the WWE Universe appeared to go to new extremes back in March 2019, as the then Raw Women's Champion recorded what was her latest installment of the Ronda on the Road YouTube series. Ronda would boldly claim that her outburst on Raw on March 4th wasn't a promo. "WWE gave me other things to say, I didn't effing say it." Now, it'd be foolish to think that WWE would happily allow Rousey to take shots at the industry by oddly boasting how it's scripted and not real in her video blog without being in on the act. But the fact the company felt this was the best way to sell an incoming WrestleMania 35 clash between Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair was as baffling to fans then as it is today. In reality, this was the company simply making the best of an unexpected situation, with Rousey being largely rejected in arenas on the back of the man's rise to the top. Yet Rousey's peeling back of the curtain felt about as far from legit and impactful as it gets for a fighter who made a career out of both of those elements in the UFC. And number 1, CM Punk calls out Hangman Page. We were always gonna get here, weren't we? The best in the world's actions during his returning Dynamite address on August 17th caught just about everyone off guard, including the target of his shoot callout. Taking to the ring and laying down a challenge to his Double or Nothing rival Hangman Page, Punk's calling out of the former AEW World Champion was far from a planned occurrence, with the iconic star's words of "That's not cowboy shh, that's coward shh," after Page's no-show being said to have been a receipt of sorts. Jumping back to the lead-up to Double or Nothing, Punk was seemingly not too happy about Hangman's off-script digs at his incoming challenger in one of the pair's promo battles, and the frustrated Punk's now infamous post-All Out 2022 press conference words of "What did I ever do in this world to deserve an empty-headed effing dumb F like Hangman Adam Page to go out on national television reputation and effing go into business for himself, among other controversial things, have now set the stage for what looks to be a truly pivotal spell in All Elite history. And it's still not over. Grab your popcorn, folks. And that's our list. Know of any other of the more controversial times that wrestlers have gone off script? Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you are there. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find even more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this lovely video today. Hopefully I'll see you very, very soon, but in the meantime, you better be good to yourself. Bye bye.